Hi, welcome back to Random Reading Pathways. I am Matt, and today I am joining the countless ranks of booktubers who have signed off in their last videos saying this will be my last book haul for quite a while, only to then start up their next video introducing their latest book haul. So as much as I didn't think that would be the case, here I am with another kind of quick little book haul. I guess I'll start by saying that, contrary to sort of the gist of this channel and the theme I'm going with of Random Reading Pathway, which is, for those who haven't seen me talk about it, it's kind of literally picking books by random number generator for the most part, and then sprinkling in some other ones that I come across and want to grab by coincidence, instinct, whim, connections to other books, that type of thing. These don't qualify for that at all. These are... the reason I chose the title for the video of bookshelf staples is that these are that. These are largely classics. These are largely staples that I've seen in just so many bookshelves that I'm, very envious of and very intrigued by, that it just so happened that the library that I stopped at yesterday to see if there were any books available for sale kind of had that vibe flowing to me very strongly, and so that was the nature of this book haul. So it'll be just all heavy hitter titles that have been talked about ad nauseum on BookTube and beyond, but ones that I view as staples of any good collection that I did want to have in my possession at some point to be able to read when I'm ready for them, which I don't think will be right away. They'll probably slide a little bit under my current TBR slate, but they were too good to pass up for $1 a book in the condition that they were. So I pulled the trigger on a couple of these. I have a couple other books here just to sort of tie into why I picked these and talk about a couple others I've read recently that are related. So here we go. So the first thing I found was this this box set here of Orson Scott Card, the Ender's Quartet. So I have not read any of these four. It starts with the classic, sci-fi book Ender's Game and works its way in this direction through all four. So my familiarity with this, ironically, comes about by way of something I read earlier this year, and that is this book, which is technically not part of the Ender Quartet, but it's Ender's Shadow by Orson Scott Card. So it's in the Ender's universe. So a little bit about this book, Ender's Shadow. First of all, my pathway to the book was a beach boardwalk kind of like little store. It has like trinkets and little knickknacks and kids' toys and stuff, and I do find myself in plenty of those with the kids over the summer months. And this particular one happened to have a little shelf right in the back where it just said free books. So I really couldn't pass up just taking a look. And I did see Ender's Shadow in there. The author's name and Ender definitely stuck out to me. So I grabbed this, and I read it earlier this year. So essentially what this is Ender's Shadow was put out by Orson Scott Card in, what is it? It's 1999, long after the Ender's Quartet was published. And it's essentially a parallel novel to Ender's Game, where it's largely the same story and plot, but told from the point of view of a different character from Ender's Game. This book, Ender's Shadow, is centered on a character named Bean, who's one of the other little kids that's in the story. And if you don't know about the Ender's story, at least the Ender's Game portion of it and Ender's Shadow, it's essentially kids that live in sort of a futuristic world, and they are drafted up into this sort of battle school, which takes place up in a spacecraft, and they're trained militarily to sort of conduct operations against an invading species. So Bean, I haven't read these four. See if I have the right way there. Haven't read these four, but I did read Ender's Shadow earlier this year and really liked it. I liked it a lot. I thought Bean was a great character. Ender is in this book quite a bit as well. And so when I saw this for like $2 for the whole set and all in good condition, I went ahead and got the rest of the Ender's Quartet, which I will be happy to read at some point to go along with Ender Shadow. So I kind of came into the Ender's universe in a backwards type sense, but now hopefully I'll right the ship and start from the beginning. So continuing on here, we have Aldous Huxley, Brave New World. Again, nothing's going to be random or surprising from this list. These are all just big names that are on millions of bookshelves and now luckily on mine as well. So haven't read Brave New World. I probably would have obtained this at some point eventually anyway, hopefully. But what kind of pushed me over the line, finding this nice paperback version of it yesterday, was this year I finally did get around to reading Orwell's 1984. I have this kind of dual volume here of Animal Farm and 1984. So I did finally read 1984, and it just lived up to every bit of its legend, every bit of its hype. I really loved it. And, come year end, I can't imagine this will be anywhere other than, right at the top of my best books list of the year. So with 1984, it's one of those things where I've always sort of heard about and viewed Brave New World by Huxley as sort of like another piece in the puzzle of the great dystopian novels. It's a British author from a similar time period. This was published about 15 years earlier than 1984, I believe, but it has some similar themes. It's not really worth me going into a discussion of any of these books, like their plot, because it's just so widely available and discussed out there. But, just to kind of highlight more my mindset in picking these, I did read 1984 this year, and from what I've seen and what I understand, you sort of have to read Brave New World if you've read 1984 to get the full English dystopian author take from the mid to late 1930s and mid 1940s. So yeah, I've always been interested in this one, especially so with reading Orwell's book this year, and so I'll be jumping into Brave New World soon. Another British author with sort of a classic here, A Clockwork Orange, Anthony Burgess. This, my primary familiarity with, comes about by way of, as I'm sure many people's does, with having seen and enjoyed the movie A Clockwork Orange, directed by Stanley Kubrick. I wouldn't say it's a favorite of mine or anything, but I did really enjoy the movie. Kubrick would probably be high on my director list. And so, yeah, the movie was just so striking. And I've heard so much about this novel, and it kind of just seemed to fit the theme and the tone of the types of books I was getting here. A little bit of these, mid 20th century kind of postmodernist streak to them a little bit, somewhat dystopian a little bit. So Clockwork Orange, is something that I've always looked for in that kind of a spirit as well. And found a nice little paperback copy of it here. So picked up A Clockwork Orange, and continuing on. Another classic, this time an American novel, but also kind of mid-20th century staple book that I've always been interested in. I'd say the main connection to my reading experience that pushes me toward this book all the time is it's always talked about as a comedic masterpiece as well as a masterpiece for many other reasons, but that is Joseph Heller, Catch-22. I haven't really, dabbled into the lore of this, into the interpretation of this that's just so widely available. I never read it. I never read it in school or anything like that. So, but always been, fascinated by kind of the legend around it. And like I said, especially drawn to the discussion of this book as such a comedic milestone. I talked about A Confederacy of Dunces yesterday. I've talked about some other books that I've come across, kind of humor-driven, satire-driven, and that's a big thing for me. I really enjoy humor in books, and, that's all I always hear about Catch-22, in addition to just being a biting critique on, war and wartime antics and, a satirical sort of genius work. So yeah, I really haven't got into Catch-22, and so it was just, again, this nice 50th anniversary edition in the paperback here, and it's just, I mean, these were all $1, so I just really couldn't pass up adding Catch-22. And then two more. So these are the biggest ones in the stack, and again, kind of a book I've always just heard about, I've always seen on people's shelves and been utterly fascinated by some of the mythology behind it. I will start by saying that I don't plan to read this right away. I don't plan to read it anytime soon until I feel I'm ready. And I do plan to do a little bit of background research and preparation going into this book, I think. So this is Gravity's Rainbow, Thomas Pynchon. And again, just a awesome, perfect paperback. This is the Penguin Classics Deluxe Edition, so it's got this really nice artwork, and then it's got the kind of the flap on the inside with the kind of opening line from the book, and everything's in great condition. It's got the cool edges here on the end. I'm still looking into the name of those edges. And another flap here with some more quotation on the back. Yeah, I can't add anything at this point to the Gravity's Rainbow discussion that's just out there. I did, after picking this up yesterday, I did go on sort of the token quick little internet deep dive into Thomas Pynchon, the famous reclusivity of him and how he's essentially never been spotted in public. And as well as the book, and just so much being written about it. And there are tons and tons of booktube videos and very in-depth video essay type offerings out there on YouTube for this book. So I plan to consume quite a bit of that before trying to pick this up. So this is one where it's just, it's one of those staples where I always was interested. I haven't read Pynchon. I know people say not to start with this one, but then on the flip side, a lot of people counter that argument by saying, no, actually start with this one. So I don't know what to make of that, other than I like to be challenged. I like to be sort of borderline overwhelmed a little bit with a book and fight my way through it and figure out who's who and figure out what's going on. That actually, to me, is one of the more rewarding parts of reading in general. So I know I will have that in store for me when I pick this one up. But like I said, it's probably not going to be anywhere near the top of the TBR list because I need to do some booktube consumption and research on this before getting any further with it. But again, $1 for this just absolutely perfect copy of Gravity's Rainbow. So I added that one. And then finally, a newer one, relatively speaking to the others on the list, is from 2014. And again, a $1, almost perfect paperback copy of The Goldfinch, Donna Tartt. So this is the Pulitzer Prize winning book from her from 2014. I've never known a ton about it really, other than just it is kind of a modern staple. That's the term I chose to kind of categorize all these books. They're just so widely praised and widely regarded that I just felt it was inevitable I would bring them into the collection at some point to try to give them a go. A little extra reason why I was on board to grab this copy here is another book that I have read before by Donna Tartt, which is, I've shown this before, but this is The Secret History. And this holds a special place for me in my reading history because it is one of, if not the first book that I ever did on the random reading pathway, in the sense that I went to my local library, punched in the random number, and it gave me The Secret History, and I just read it and loved it. And it kind of proved to me that, that's worth doing, just doing the old random search for a book. Because then after that point, I would come to find out more about The Secret History and how it's sort of become a cult classic a little bit. And I think The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt is probably not a cult classic at this point. It's probably just a modern classic. I don't know much about it other than that and other than the brief plot summary that I've looked into. Again, this is something where I don't feel I can add much to the discussion of what it's about, other than to just say it's about a little young boy, a young teenager who survives a terrorist attack, and the only thing he comes away with it comes away from it with is this famous painting, the Goldfinch, and then it just goes from there into kind of what the repercussions of that are for him and his life. But yeah, I like The Secret History by Donna Tartt. Always had a special place in my head for this one, and so this one just seemed to be a nice natural extension of that. Again, with a nice kind of, it's like that solid finish here without any gloss or anything like that, but really thick, heavy book here, but just it's held up really great for $1. So yeah, I had to go back on my words that I ended my last video with almost immediately, because I'm lucky enough to live in the northeast sector of the United States where it's a densely populated area, which means that comes with very easy access to libraries and books, and most of them, if not all of them, have at least some books for sale for cheap. And I've been checking those out lately, and I've been, doing pretty well. But I've been trying not to take that for granted, because I know that, I should be grateful for that, given where I live and given the access to books and libraries that I do have around me. I know that's not the case for everybody who is trying to expand their reading world. So I am grateful to have had the chance to pick these up. These will probably slot under the entire physical TBR that I have behind me and on some other shelves, as well as my online TBR that I'm hoping to get to. But these are just bookshelf staples that I wanted to add to mine at some point, and yesterday was that point. So yeah, that's it for the book haul from yesterday. But thanks to anyone who checks this out, and I'll be back with some more reading updates shortly.